Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to a pre-game edition of QnA, where I take your questions from YouTube, Twitter, and the internet at large and answer them here in video format on a Sunday right before the game. It's a special Sunday airing of Q&A as I wait to get some other situations, wink, wink, together that you'll find out about later. But we're going to start with a question from Sanjay, who says, am I worried about the left tackle situation? Yep, I'm worried. The left tackle situation is clearly worrisome. Not because of play, just because your starter got hurt, your backup came in, the backup got hurt, you're down to James Hudson. James Hudson is a fine prospect. I think in 2 to 3 years, James Hudson's going to be the right tackle for the Cleveland Browns, and he's going to be a damn good right tackle. But that's 2 to 3 years from now. That's not right now. I don't think he's ready right now. And that's the situation he's in. And he's going to be in there with Joey Bosa. And the biggest thing that concerns me is when you're talking about a rookie tackle, especially a rookie tackle who came from, and I know he was a transfer from Texas, but even the Big 12, came from a non-power conference, right? He went to Cincinnati. That's where he got most of his playing time. Strength, usually the biggest adjustment for a guy like James Hudson. One, James is an athletic tackle, so it was not like strength. It's not like Rashawn Slater, where you're not going to just throw Myles Garrett over Rashard Slater and just bull rush him all day, because Rashawn Slater is NFL strong already day one. Like, he proved that against Chase Young when he was at Northwestern. So it's not that kind of situation. It's a situation where this is a guy that you're hoping to get NFL strong maybe next year or in the next couple of years, and he's not there. And then there's Joey Bosa strong, right? There's NFL strong, and then there's Joey Bosa strong. And that's a situation that's ripe for being taken advantage of, right? Remember when Nick Harris went out there in that Jets game, and the Jets were vicious about attacking Nick Harris and his lack of strength in that game? That's kind of what I'm worried about happening to James Hudson here, just because he's not there yet, or at least what we saw right now. Now, things could have changed from the end of camp to now. It could have changed. But at least from what I saw in the preseason, he had a ways to go in that area. And I'm not worried about how he's going to look 2-3 years from now. But when you're talking about starting him right now, yeah, that's something I'm worried about. I hope that the team can figure something out and patch something together, but it is a worrisome situation. Next question comes from CJ, who says, aside from Chubb and Hunt, who could you see having a great game? Same for the defense, aside from Myles Garrett. So he wants to get rid of all the usual suspects. Outside of Chubb and Hunt, I could see Baker having a good game. I could see David Njoku having a good game. I could see Demetric Felton having a good game. I can see the Browns really attacking and pushing those seams vertically a lot of this game, which is going to be, Rashard Higgins, the tight ends, more so than it's going to be the outside guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones or Odell. So I could see that happening. Defensively, when you look at the defense, all of the key players have had their turn to have great plays and these great moments so far in the season. The one player who has not is John Johnson. I think he's due for a couple of big plays. Him returning to SoFi Stadium, where he played as a Ram in LA. I think that's going to be the catalyst for him to have a big game here and have his first kind of big moment as a Cleveland Brown. Thank you for the question, CJ. Next one comes from Frank, who says, Q, we seem like we're in trouble at the tackle position. Hopefully we get by the Chargers, but I'm a little concerned for the rest of the season. Losing Hubbard was a big deal, and Wills is hobbling. Well, you're not going to have Hubbard and Wills hurt for the whole year, so that's a breath of relief, right? With Wills, we are talking about possibly not having him at full strength as a left tackle for about a month and, having him maybe be hobbled for a couple of weeks. So maybe he doesn't play for a couple of weeks, but then he can go out there and be a better version of himself for those last two and then get back to being himself after that. For Hubbard, I have no idea when he's going to come back. He's been designated to return for a while, but the triceps, it still hurts him. So it looks like, we'll have to wait and see. Long term, I'm not worried. For this little stretch, I am. And here is the silver lining to all this. In these kind of situations, when you're talking about good football teams have to find a way to make an adjustment to make whatever they can throw out there work, right? That's what Belichick does. That's what the Steelers do. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. Well, the Steelers, when they were still the Steelers, but look at the Baltimore Ravens is the more important part, right? They lost almost all of their offensive line, a lot of their secondary, some of their wide receivers, and all of their running backs. Like, I'm not even exaggerating when I describe their injury situation as that, but that is what their injury situation is, right? They're 3-1, and they beat the Chiefs. So with all of those things going wrong, like 4 times the things going wrong that the Cleveland Browns have right now, their coaching, their staff figured a way out to put a playable team on the field, to put some playable offensive line play on the field after a struggling game versus the Raiders, and put some winning football on the field. Same thing for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, you don't have your starting left tackle. You don't even have your backup, but you got to figure out something. And the good news is they figured it out last year, so you hope they can do it again this year. But that's just the situation. The next question comes from Cam, who says, do you think the Browns defense can do something similar to the Chargers like they did to the Vikings, even though Herbert is a better quarterback than Cousins? I get how somebody could be talked into this, right? Where you look at the weapons on paper, and honestly, you'd be more blown away with what Minnesota has, right? Because even though Eckler's a really good running back, you would think Dalvin Cook's better. Even though, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, both great wide receivers, you would probably take Thielen and Justin Jefferson over them. Tight ends, offensive line is better for the Chargers. And quarterback, I think most people right now would say that Justin Herbert is better than Kirk Cousins, even though Kirk Cousins, he's not like a lame duck quarterback by any means. So I see how you can look at it on paper and go, the Browns are able to shut that down. They should be able to shut this down. My thing is, with this week, styles make fights. The Browns are more built to attack offenses that are going to attack you horizontally, right? And that's what the Vikings do. They want to stretch you out. They want to throw screens. They want to run the ball. They want to do zone running. They want to do horizontal stretch. The Chargers want to stretch you down the field. They want to push you down the field. They want to throw 50-50 balls to Mike Williams. They want to get Keenan Allen on the seams. They want to do all of these things and push you vertically down the field. Justin's going to hold on to that ball to get that ball downfield. So, yeah, they were able to shut down the Vikings, but I also don't think that means they're going to be able to shut down the Chargers because styles make fights. I think the Browns offense probably going to have to put up 30 points in order to win this game. But that being said, there are some things that the Browns defense can do with that style, right? If they're going to attack vertically, that means Justin's going to hold that ball longer. If Justin Herbert holds that ball longer, more time for Myles Garrett to get home. More time for Jadeveon Clowney to get home. The thing is, they need to get home. If they don't, they're going to push that ball vertically, and it might be a bad day for this defense. But I do anticipate that the Chargers are going to put up a better showing than the Vikings, simply because I think stylistically they match up much better with the Cleveland Browns than the Vikings did. The next question comes from Hunter, who says, we have so many people questionable for Sunday at the moment. How big of an impact do you think that'll have? I looked at the injury report, and while, yes, a lot of people are questionable, most of those guys have practiced. Almost all of them have practiced. The only people who have not practiced are the people who are already out. So I expect everybody to play. I think everybody's going to play. I think the Browns, they play meta games all the time. Kevin Stefanski does by putting like 1 million people on that injury report. It's become something that I've just learned to ignore over time because it literally only happens when Kevin Stefanski was the head coach of this team. Before it didn't. It's a Kevin Stefanski thing. He puts everybody and anything on that damn injury report. So it's going to look massive and overwhelming, but almost rarely does he not play the people who are questionable, especially if they practice. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. The next question comes from Luke Hobby, who says, narrative surrounding this game is that it's a must-win. Does a win or loss here really mean a lot for the trajectory of the season with our injuries, or is the goal really to play our best game and stay healthy? So if you're going to look at this from an aspect of the Browns need to win one of these next 2 games against 2 tough offenses, right? Arizona Cardinals, who are undefeated, and the Chargers. You want to win this game. The reason you want to win this game is because it's an AFC game. It's going to count more when it comes to tiebreakers. And also the Chargers are a team that look to be in the hunt when it comes to the playoffs, whether it be wild card, division, whatever it is. They're going to be in the conversation, it seems like. So this is a win you want to get out of the 2. NFC win is nice for the win-loss record. Doesn't count in any of the tiebreakers. So if you're the Browns, strategically, this is the one you want, right? You want this win. This is the tougher win, in my opinion, because it's on the road. But it's the one you want. So, yeah, this is an important game. No, it's not a must-win game, right? Must-win games are reserved, like, after week 10 or week 11 or 12. Like, that part of the season is when games get must-win. But if we're talking about a game that happened in October at the end of the year as why the Browns didn't reach their goals, this team wasn't good enough at the end of the year to make their things happen, right? Like, so it's not going to matter as much what happens right now as what happens at the end part of the year. Next question comes from Josh, who says, do you expect the Chargers to keep more guys in the box early to test Baker's arm? If so, I'll be glad to watch Odell walk into the end zone a few times. I really don't. And that's going to be something interesting to watch. Because the Chargers, they just don't stack the box. Like, they don't do it. They refuse to do it. That's why they rank so low in rushing, because they don't stack the box. They don't ever do it. They just put a bunch of DBs on the field, and they don't stack the box. That's how they play football. I don't think they're going to change that. And honestly, is their personnel really suited well enough to change that? So, nah. I don't think they're going to stack the box. But if they do, yeah, you obviously test it because they don't have great personnel to be stacking the box like that. But, we'll see. Next question comes from Nolan Stringer, who says, do you think we should give SCHWARTZ some more touches throughout the game, whether it's end arounds or screens? Yeah, it's just kind of hard to fit SCHWARTZ in the game right now because Odell is better at literally anything that SCHWARTZ can think of doing. Like, it's that big of a difference between him and Odell. So you don't want to have him, SCHWARTZ, do end arounds because Odell's better at the end arounds. You don't want to have SCHWARTZ do deep ball. Like, there are some things you can scheme up where Odell could be the decoy and then SCHWARTZ can kind of sneak open. But unless you're absolutely sure you can get him open, you don't really want to be wasting Odell to be a decoy to get the ball to your 5th string wide receiver. So it's just hard to fit him on the field. And we're going to say the same thing once Jarvis gets back about Demetric Felton, right? Good players, just hard to fit you on the field just because the Browns have more good players that are more ready right now. So great pieces for the future, but not that much use for this team this year unless there's an injury or something. But thank you guys for those questions. I want to thank you, and I want you guys to have a great day. Have a good night.